Tonight, a man seriously injured at Port Perry's lead smelter and much needed rain on the horizon for South Australia.
From our 7 Spencer Golf studios, your nightly news with Louise Hedger begins now.
Good evening. Investigations are underway into the details around a contractor being seriously injured at Port Perry's lead smelter last week. Union representatives confirming the worker was manning machinery when the incident occurred. Dominic Beaton has the story.
Safe Work SA have confirmed a worker has been injured at Nyrstar's Port Pirie site. Their inspectors have attended the scene and are continuing to make inquiries about the circumstances of the incident. It's understood the man was rushed to hospital after sustaining injuries to his hand last Friday, the 26th of April. The Australian Workers' Union has been in contact with Nyrstar and says it's keeping an eye on the investigation, confirming the man is a private contractor.
I received a message from one of my colleagues that works down on site, one of our union members, and he informed me that there had been an incident that had occurred during one of the evenings.
It says a labour hire worker injured his hand between 1 and 2 in the morning while undertaking change-out work on some of the smelter's equipment.
From what we can understand at this point in time is the contractor was working on some machinery, and that machinery activated, and he sustained some injuries to one of his hands.
Mr Hopgood says the man is a second-generation worker at the smelter and that he's been in contact with the family. Nyrstar have refused an interview request, but they have said that the man has returned to work today.
Police are investigating the robbery of a Port Lincoln taxi driver last week. It's alleged the incident occurred last Friday night at around 9 o'clock on Tennyson Terrace. Police say the driver was approached by a man who allegedly threatened him before stealing cash. The driver was not physically injured, while the suspect is described as being of Aboriginal appearance and aged in his 30s. Police are encouraging anyone with information to come forward or to contact Crime Stoppers. Sanjeev Gupta's proposed new high-tech steel plant at Whyalla has caught international attention. The Chinese government has named it as one of 16 projects worldwide that would be in the country's national interest. John Hunt has more.
Unveiled in December last year, Sanjeev Gupta has plans for a 10 million tonne high-tech steel plant in Whyalla. It grabbed national attention that day and is now turning heads across the world. The Chinese government named it as one of 16 projects of national significance at a conference last week. China is spending billions of dollars worldwide, aiming to develop a modern-day Silk Route. The new plant is already connected to China, with engineering firm CISDI working in partnership with GFG to turn the idea into reality. Mr. Gupta, who was at the conference, was unavailable for an interview today. In a statement, he's welcomed the recognition. He says the partnership will strengthen relations with China and open new markets for its products. The proposed plant would be one of the largest outside the Asian powerhouse, using the latest technology to make high-quality steel. However, it's still in the planning process, with construction still not expected for years. And funding for the project has also received a boost. GFG and China International Capital Corporation have signed a deal to develop and explore funding options for the new plant.
Port Augusta is preparing to welcome local government leaders from across the country so they can see the town's coal to clean energy transformation. Representatives from councils in 5 states will move around the town on Thursday to learn how to increase the output of renewable energy in their own cities and towns. The Climate Council will also be hosting a free community event later in the evening, which will feature a keynote address from former South Australian Premier Jay Weatherill. It will be held at the Lee Memorial Theatre and starts at 7 p.m. Environmental activists have today delivered a petition of over 3,000 signatures to the Whyalla office of Rowan Ramsey, calling for an end to plans for a nuclear waste facility in the state's north. The petition urges the government to scrap the site selection process for the facility in both Kimba and Hawker. Organisers are requesting that Mr Ramsey takes the documents to Federal Resources Minister Matt Canavan on behalf of the community. Copies have also been sent to the South Australian Government as well as 2 local councils. Proponents of the facility say it would create up to 45 jobs, boosting the economy of the selected community. Parts of drought-stricken Eyre Peninsula should finally receive much-needed rain this week, with around 50 millimetres expected to fall over the west coast. The Bureau of Meteorology says the wet weather should last well into the weekend.
It's what we've all been desperately waiting for, rain to finally fall on our drought-stricken land after one of the driest starts to the year.
The front has actually reached Nullarbor and is on its way to Ceduna, and I reckon sometime during the afternoon they'll be reaching Eyre Peninsula.
The news welcomed especially by those throughout the region who recently took part in a rain dance, an event which gained traction across the region, with hundreds posting their videos and photos online.
Rather than sitting down and getting depressed about how it's not coming and how much we need it, I thought, well, we can sit around and do that, or we could get up and dance and get some endorphins going.
Even Draft hosted his own rain dance ceremony whilst performing at the local arts centre. Coming from a family of farmers, Emma says she's heard the tough condition and struggle that many are going through across the region.
Show the farming families and communities that we're on their side, that we see them, we acknowledge them, we know what's happening, and we want it to rain for them and for us as well.
Well, it looks like the rain dance might have just worked, with the clouds here getting darker. 50 millimetres of rain expected to fall across the region over the next few days. With the wet weather, emergency services are warning residents to take extra care on the roads and to ensure gutters and pipes aren't blocked.
It's a good opportunity today while it's fine and it's calm to get out and do some of that maintenance, and it's very easy to forget to do those things when it's been dry for so long.
Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Still to come tonight, South Australia's History Festival kicks off in Whyalla, and a pot of dolphins up close and personal, much to the delight of onlookers. Welcome back. The 2019 Salt Festival has come to a close for another year, with thousands of people travelling to Port Lincoln for the event. Headlining acts Draft and Adrian Eagle wrapped up the festival, performing on the final night.
Draft entertaining the crowds, closing the curtain on this year's Salt Festival.
We've also had a lot of really world-class events happen, like theatre. We've had some great comedy.
The 10-day event showcasing the best of our region to audiences, whether it was captured in Joseph Puglisi's artwork or in the traditional pandanus weaving workshop hosted by Indigenous elders.
And sitting with the ladies and weaving my very own spiral pendant, along with a whole lot of the other ladies from our community, which was just a wonderful event.
From stargazing, Moroccan workshops and a night at the museum, there was something for everyone. Even Josh Harris got in on the action, painting this large-scale mural in town.
They give me the creativity and the freedom to sort of paint what I want. Last year we did a small wall for them, and this year I thought let's go big.
Despite the low number of events than previous years, there was still plenty of variety for everyone.
Salt is really a gift to the community, but we gift ourselves to it, and it gives us so much.
Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Local history will be showcased at the Whyalla Maritime Museum, kicking off South Australia's History Festival. A pop-up exhibition on our coastline is now on display, aiming to challenge the narrative of early exploration of the region.
A maritime history on display. Opening this month, Navigation features historic maritime artefacts and explores in depth the history of the Eyre Peninsula.
So, and I mean navigation not in just terms of like a technical navigation, but also an exploration of the Upper Spencer Gulf.
Featuring never-before-displayed maps, visitors will learn of our local settlement history and question specific events related to the early explorers.
Documents about the shipwrecks, the early colonial shipping, and up to the modern times.
And a theory that there may have been earlier Portuguese explorers to arrive on our coast. This exhibition challenges our history books and prompts questions on what history is yet to be uncovered.
It's a theory that possibly the Portuguese in 1522 were the first navigators who came all the way around the east coast and finished at Spencer Gulf and then turned around.
Mr. Mazurek is encouraging the local public to come and uncover the secrets this exhibition has to offer. He says it's an excellent opportunity for tourists to visit too.
So all the visitors coming to Whyalla are most welcome to actually have a look at this exhibition as well.
The exhibition is on display throughout the month of May. John Hunt, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Staying in Whyalla, and Twilight Steelworks tours are taking place as part of History Month. They'll run each Wednesday evening in May, starting at 5:30. Residents will get the chance to witness the steelmaking process, visiting the blast furnace, coke ovens and rolling mills. Whyalla Council's Teresa Coles says it's a unique opportunity.
The steelworks looking amazing at night. It will be a great opportunity to see the steelworks in action with all of that molten steel and other stuff happening, hopefully, that we'll see at that time.
The tours can be booked at the Whyalla Visitor Centre. Locals in Port Augusta have captured the breathtaking moment. A pod of dolphins swam within metres of them in the Spencer Gulf. The playful group was snapped frolicking in the water on Monday morning just below the Port Augusta wharf.
Good morning. Oh my God.
Close encounters with marine life is always exciting, but nothing new for locals who have caught glimpses of sharks and whales in the past. But adventurers are reminded to not attempt to swim with the animals as it can be dangerous. Stay with us after the break. A young Port Pirie footy player in the running for Oz Kicker of the Year, and Ruby will have all the weather details. Hello again. A young footballer from Port Pirie has had his wish come true, getting himself into the running as NAB Oz Kicker of the Year. The 7-year-old and his family still beaming from Easter Friday when little Jack ran out at half-time to play at Marvel Stadium.
Jack Porter has been busy kicking goals, life goals, earning himself a moment in the spotlight at half-time during round 5 of the AFL, inspired by one of football's
Hi, my name's Jack, but my friends call me Pendle. I think I should be NAB Oz Kicker of the Year because I've been practicing my kicks just like Dusty's.
The 7-year-old from Port Pirie's hard work paying off. He's been selected as a nominee in the 2019 NAB AFL Oz Kicker of the Year. His mum, Michaela, behind the camera, filming Jack in his element, showcasing his skills. Dad Anthony, ecstatic with the news that the whole family would be flying out to Marvel Stadium to watch their favourite team Collingwood take on Essendon.
I thought to receive the phone call and then speaking to the guy from NAB Sponsorship on the phone, it's definitely a shock and quite excited really. I think I was more excited than what Jack was.
Topping off his AFL debut, Jack even managed to kick a goal.
Got a goal, and when I got the goal I made a friend and he picked me up.
The young gun also managing to impress television star Hamish McLaughlin.
You've got a mini AFL figure there. Who's that?
You.
You've made me out of Lego.
Yeah.
I like this.
The Oz Kick of the Year will be announced in September, and no doubt around Australia some young AFL stars just like Jack will be waiting to hear if they've been selected. Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Now for a look at the rest of the day's sport news, and in Port Augusta netball, one side got its revenge in the grand final rematch, defeating the reigning premiers. Garth Burley has the wrap.
Well, in sport we all love a good comeback story. And Vikings have taken one step towards redemption, defeating Railways by 6 goals, the same side that beat them in last year's grand final. In the other match, St Joseph's showed their competitive spirit on the court, defeating Magpies. In the Greater Flinders, Cummins dominated on the court in a high-scoring affair against Ramblers, and United Yelena won against Lock. In Whyalla, a grand final rematch saw reigning premiers Kiwi retain bragging rights over Warriors. True Blue won by a huge margin of 65 points, and YCW also claimed a victory. In Pirrie, Georgia Pryor was awarded the Anzac Medal despite her Solomon Town side going down to Blue Wren. And Central Risdon were too good for SM Celtic, winning by 22 points. To soccer now, and in Whyalla, Wanderers netted 2 unanswered goals against Steele in the League Cup final to win their first trophy in 15 years. In the State League, Northern Demons notched their 4th win of the season with the comprehensive 6-goal drubbing of the Cove FC. And in the Amateur League, Savoy and West Beach were forced to share the points. And finally to Broken Hill Tennis, where the A-graders took a break after Easter, but the B-graders still picked up the rackets. Spin Doctors were too strong on the court, rallying to a 2-set win over the Slashers. A-grade will be back this week for the final round of the season before 3 weeks of finals. That's it for the weekend in sport. And as always, if you have local sports results that you'd like featured here on 7 Spencer Golf News, drop us a line at localsport@sca.com.au. Back to you, Louise.
Great, thanks Garth. Now let's take a look at the weather, and Ruby, there's rain on the way.
Yes, Louise, it looks like there'll be some wet and wild weather in the coming days. Starting with today, and temperatures ranged in the mid-20s across the Gulf, with Port Augusta and Port Pirie reaching a top of 26 degrees, Whyalla 25, Port Lincoln and Broken Hill 24, Port Pirie 26, and a max of 25 degrees in Adelaide. Looking to the satellite, thick cloud is moving across South Australia with a cold front, and a trough is generating areas of rain and thunderstorms, mainly on the system's western flank. Skies are clearest in the far west as high pressure begins to rebuild. Looking at the waters for tomorrow, southerly winds around 10 to 15 knots, seas at 2 metres, and the sun will rise at 7:01 tomorrow morning with sunset just after 5:46. Some rainy conditions expected across the region tomorrow. Port Augusta set for a top of 20 degrees, Whyalla windy and 20, Port Lincoln 17, Coffin Bay thunderstorms and 14, Woodna a top of 18, Corn 20, Broken Hill cloudy and 23, Port Pirie 20, Clare 16, Cleve 17, Kadina 19 and Adelaide some patchy cloud and 24. Looking ahead to the next 4 days, more rain is expected in Port Lincoln on Thursday with 17, moving to a cloudy top of 19 on Saturday. Cleve a top of 17 with cloudy conditions continuing through the next few days. And a bit of rain coming up for Woodna on Thursday, a top of 17, warming up to 20 by Saturday. Whyalla keeping in the early 20s with a bit of cloud, a top of 20 on Saturday. Similar conditions in Port Augusta reaching to 21 by Saturday. And Kadina, some rain over the next few days, warming to a top of 20 on Friday and Saturday. Some partial cloud in Port Pirie reaching tops of 20 by Saturday. A bit cooler in Clare with rain and 15 on Friday, 19 on Saturday. And Broken Hill, storms continuing on to Thursday, reaching to sunny tops of 19 later in the week. And that's all for tonight's weather, Louise. Back to you.
Thanks for that, Ruby. And that's all from us this Tuesday evening. Thanks for joining us. We'll have updates later, but until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.